Okay guys, for today we're going to be reviewing our commas and we're going to talk about the 11 different comma rules. First, you want to make sure you have your notebook opened to this page. We should have had this in our notebook either from yesterday's class or depending on our mods, we may have just put it in today. That's fine. What I'd like for you to also have on you is a pencil, and I'd like for you to have two different colored highlighters as well. Okay, I don't really mind what color the highlighters are, you just want to make sure you have two different colors. Okay, and you want to make sure that you can read through the highlighting. So what I'd like for you to do first is go ahead and highlight in your first color this here where it says between the day and year, and I'd also like for you to highlight dates. Okay, so both of these should be highlighted. I'll do that on here for you as well. There you go. And let's take a look at our first set of rules then. Okay, so when we're talking about our comma rules, the first one is probably one that I think everyone should be very familiar with. It's just dates. Okay, so whenever you're writing out a sentence and you're talking about dates and you're including a year, you need to make sure that you have a comma separating the day and the year. So my sentence says, my birthday is October 27th, 1990. My comma is going to fall between 27 and 1990 because 27 is my day, 1990 is my year. What I also want you to include every time you identify commas or see commas in sentences, you need to ask yourself, what is my rule? Okay, or what is my proof? How do I know that a comma needs to be here? So if I'm doing that, I need to consider, okay, I know that this is one of the rules, but what rule is it? It's the rule of dates. So above it, I would like for you to write date in parentheses. So on your notes, you're going to be writing this example sentence. So I'm going to be writing, my birthday is October 27th, 1990, period. Now after I write my sentence, I also need to give some proof and identify the rule. Now I know it's obvious here because we have it in our chart, but I want you to get in the habit of identifying the proof. So I want you to also put date in parentheses above it, and I want you to highlight this in another color. I'm going to choose blue. And not only that, but I'd also like for you to highlight your comma in that other color as well. Okay, so your note should look a little something like this. What I'd like for you to do now is go ahead and pause this video and write your own example below my sentence example. Okay, so now that you've written down your second example, let's move on to our second rule. The second rule that we encounter is addresses. Now later in our videos we're going to be talking about another kind of address. This one we're talking about location though. Okay? Whenever you have a city and a state, you need to show that there's a difference between the two by including a comma. So down below I have, I live in Mentor-on-the-Lake, Ohio. My comma falls between the city, I know my city is a little long, and it's going to fall between the state. Once again, above it I have my proof or my rule, and it's going to be right above my comma to show or explain why I'm using a comma here. Okay, so you need to go back into your notes and take a look at that table. You should be writing my example down first, highlighting the proof and writing that at the top, and also highlighting your comma. So please do that now. Once you've done that, you also want to include your own example, just like in the first column. Okay, by now I hope that we've written down our own examples and included my example as well, highlighting along the way. Our third rule is going to fall under letters. Okay, now I'm not talking about letters like in the alphabet, I'm talking about letters that you would write. This goes for emails, this also goes for text messages, anything that's like a formal letter or a letter to someone else, you're probably going to see these kind of commas appearing. So it's going to generally come after the greeting and the closing. That's where you'll see the commas the most in this format. So my first example says, Dear Mom, and then I have my comma because it's at the end of the phrase. Now it could be Dear Mom or Dear Miss Renfro or Dear Mr. Hyam, but it's always going to come at the end of the phrase because that's a part of your greeting. Okay, and typically you would go ahead and start a new paragraph, or you give a little bit of space and drop down lower before you began writing out the actual content of the letter. And then down below I have a closing. So your closing can say, love your favorite daughter. It could say, sincerely Miss Renfro. It could say, yours truly, your brother. Whichever it may be though, you always have a closing, and after your closing you're going to have your comma before you write your signature or you write your name. Okay? So I'd like for you to go ahead and write these two examples in your notes, doing the same kind of highlighting you see here on our slide. So you should have Dear Mom and a comma. Then on top you should have your rule or your proof. You don't need to write letters for this one. I would do greeting and closing for this one. That way you know exactly why you're using your commas. Okay? And then the next rule we're going to go over is going to have to do with lists. So get ready for that in our next video. What I would like for you to do next is go ahead and hit the next page for the blend space. I'd like for you to watch the video, and I would like for you in your next column, the one that says example from video right here, you're going to be watching the video and then you're going to write down as many examples as you see that fit in each of the rules. Okay, so go ahead and turn the page and get started on that now.